We wish, therefore, to declare here that we do not venture to make a single statement without the support of authorities well known in Hebrew literature. Our method is to select such views as seem to us the best authenticated in the historical progress of Judaism. As we have taken our choice from the numerous works on our subject, the student is entitled to adopt or to reject the views that we represent. Most of the Mishnah date from a very early period, and originated with the students of the Jewish academies which existed since the days of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, Tukran. 17:9. The rabbinical students of ancient times noted the essence of the academical teachings in brief form, and, as a rule, in the idiom in which it was spoken to them, so that they could afterward easily commit it to memory. They have sometimes, however, added comments and extensive explanations in the form of notes, so that the mass of their learning, embraced in course of time, according to some authorities, as many as 600 divisions. The source of the Mishnah was the customs and regulations. P16. Practiced by the authorities in their administration of religious and civil affairs, such as the Sabbath, prayers, cleanliness, considered actually godliness, permitted and forbidden foods, and controversies arising concerning slavery. Indebtedness and corporal punishment are subjects of academical discussion, conducted with the aim of perfecting them into national statutes enforceable in all Jewish communities alike. In course of time, however, when those Mishnah were noted down from earlier existing copies, many additions were made. Finally Rabbi Yehuda the Prince, generally called Rabbi, concluded to collect all the Mishnah in his college for proper arrangement. From these he selected 6 divisions, called according to the subject they deal with, viz., seeds, feasts, women, damages, sacrifices, and purifications, and he proclaimed them holy for all Israel. Of the Mishnah so treated by Rabbi, some were left entirely intact, and were reproduced in their original form. To others he parenthetically added brief comments of his own, and there are still others that he changed in form completely, because already in his day old customs had changed and taken new forms. Such of them as he desired to make final and indisputable national laws he incorporated into the Mishnah without mentioning the names of their authors. Where, however, he could formulate no definite decision himself, or where they were well known to the public, he gave full information of their authors as well as the names of those opposed to their conclusions, without any decision on his part. In still others he mentioned no names, but contented himself with saying Aram, that is, anonymous teachers say, not wishing to specify their authority for certain reasons. Rabbi did not seek the compliance and agreement of all his contemporaries in his arrangement of the Mishnah, and many differed from his conclusions and even arranged Mishnah in accordance with their own views. Being, however, a man of great prominence, influence, and wealth, Rabbi succeeded in quelling opposition and in making his conclusions as acceptable as the Mosaic law itself, and his great pupils, seeing that his intentions, P17, were only to prevent dissensions and his only aim the public weal, supported him nobly, until his teachings were accepted as the law of the nation. Many Mishnah were rejected and destroyed by Rabbi, but, not being in possession of all those he wished to destroy, he went in search of them to colleges outside of his jurisdiction. There, however, he met with great opposition. Some of the Mishnah were hidden beyond his reach, others were secretly preserved and arranged within the very limits of his domain and promptly brought to light after his death. But Rabbi's pupils did not dignify them with the name Mishnah, implying next to Mosaic law, one but called them Tosef Toth, meaning additions of a later period, or merely additional, not principal, matter. Some of them were also named Borathoth, outsiders, that is, secondary, not academical matter. They spread, however, very rapidly after Rabbi's death, and to such an extent as to threaten the Mishnah of Rabbi with entire extinction. Such would actually have been the result, had not the pupils of Rabbi organized again colleges whose aim was to perpetuate the Mishnah of Rabbi, which they also accomplished. Colleges of that character were those of Rabbi Samuel in Babylon and Rabbi Janai and Rabbi Johanan in Palestine. These colleges made strenuous efforts to explain and harmonize the Mishnah of Rabbi with the teachings of the Boraithoth, generally regarded as those of Rabbi Hiah and Rabbi Oshia, who were greatly admired by the public. At times the Mishnah of Rabbi was abbreviated and replenished with the text of the Boraitha, or explained with an opposing opinion, so as to harmonize it with the latter or suit the new conditions and consequent changes of the custom that originally caused the conclusion of the Mishnah. Where, however, they found no other way to suit their purpose, they inserted a new Mishnah of their own composition into the text of Rabbi. 2. P18. The teachers mentioned in the Mishnah of Rabbi Oren the Boraithoth and Tosefta were called Tanaim, singular Tana, signifying instructors, professors. The teachings of the colleges, covering a period of some centuries, which also found adherents and became the traditional law, were called Gemara, signifying conclusion. The intention was to harmonize Mishnah and Boraitha, and, in most cases, to arrive at a final decision as to the theory of the law, as Rabbi the proper interpretation or Johanan prohibited compliance with the halakha unless it is mandatory. These Gemara teachers were called Amoraim, interpreters, that is, they interpreted to the public the difficult passages in the Mishnah. Being classified as interpreters only, they had no authority to deviate from the spirit of the Mishnah unless supported by another Tana opposing the Mishnah, in which case they could follow the opinion of the Tana with whom they agreed. Rabina and Arashi, who lived at the end of the 5th century, 3rd century of Amoraim, began to arrange the Gemara, but without success, and commenced a second time to arrange it. Unfortunately they died before accomplishing their task, and the Gemara had to undergo the chances of transmission from hand to hand until the appearance upon the scene of Rabbeinu Jose, president of the last Hebraic college in Pumbeditha, who foresaw that his college was destined to be the last, owing to the growing persecution of the Jews from the days of Pharaohs. He also feared that the Amoraic manuscripts would be lost in the coming dark days or materially altered, so he summoned all his contemporary associates and hastily closed up the Talmud, prohibiting any further additions. This enforced haste caused not only an improper arrangement and many numerous repetitions and additions, but also led to the Talmudizing of articles directly traceable to bitter and relentless opponents of the Talmud.